Hello again, I'm Joel Crean. This is Weeknights at Cafe on the Lake. I hope you had a good weekend. Coming up on tonight's show, we've got a lot to get through, including a chat to police about local numbers in Shepparton and what's being done to stop petty crime at the moment. The Shep Council is putting its preferences for funding to the state and federal governments, and we'll tell you what is included on that list in just a few minutes. There's a new service to help rural patients get special medical treatment, and it's been launched, so we've got that coming up. We've got lots of news to get through across the weekend and also today. Here's Julie Snook at the Southern Cross News Desk.
Thank you, Joel. In news for your Monday, Shepparton father of 5 will stay in a Saudi Arabian prison until tomorrow before his case is heard, according to reports today. Mansour Al-Marib was arrested under the country's religious blasphemy laws last month. Australian officials have been trying to rush the case through the courts because of concerns for Mansour's health, but his family has been told he could face another week or so behind bars before being released. Back home now, the CFA says today marks the start of the Goulburn Valley fire danger period. The authority is paying particular attention to grassy areas in the region, which are thought to pose the biggest risk to property this summer. Meanwhile, as a grass fire which had crews working hard around Bunbartha on Saturday, 15 hectares of land was burnt when a campfire spread through a private property. In other news now, it's a colourful day of racing in Tatura for Italian Plate Day, but ultimately it was the red, white and green which prevailed. Jason Benbow rode Jet Coney across the line first to win the plate, much to the delight of Mansfield trainer Gerald Egan. Stick around, I'll have more headlines for you later on in the show.
Telehealth is a new program designed to save patients in regional and rural parts of the state travelling to seek specialist medical treatment. It uses new Weblink technology, and as our reporter Ashley Gardner found out, it's saving plenty of hassles.
Seymour resident Margot Green suffers from epilepsy, which for her means trips to the specialist in Melbourne. So you can imagine her response when she found out a video conferencing service was being rolled out at Seymour Medical Clinic.
Yes, please. When do we start? Every doctor I've ever come across has been wonderful. They all go out of their way to help you and look after you, but the fact that you can now see a specialist in your own town makes it that much better.
Margot's GP, Dr Rob North, says the new initiative is a result of a funding boost from the federal government, and locals are set to see the benefits.
I think the telehealth is an advancement that was always going to happen, and now it's happening. It is definitely a benefit, particularly for elder residents of our community and all rural and remote communities.
While Margot says she's looking forward to the end of those long trips.
Well, I'm welcoming it because I no longer drive to Melbourne due to the epilepsy, and it saves me the worry of either putting a grandson out with 2 young children who has to take me for the day, or we have to catch a train down, and I do have a husband with poor eyesight, and struggling around the city is not fun. But as it is now, it's just the general inconvenience of having to go to Melbourne to sit there and say, have you had any more turns? How is your medication going? And all right, I'll see you in 3 or 4 months.
Dr North says the scheme has been well received by local patients.
The patients are really looking forward to utilising the service, most of them. Some patients will still want to see the doctor rather than looking at them on a screen, but most of the patients are looking forward to not having to make the journey down. That's the thing that seems to put them off. Also the expense of travel, which often isn't subsidised either.
He says it's not long until it gets off the ground.
It'll start happening in the next few days to weeks, I expect. As more specialists become involved, the process will become more and more utilised. It'll be a gradual process. But yeah, it will start very soon.
In news last week, we had the latest crime figures which show thefts from motor vehicles in Shep are up, and so too are assaults. And as tourists start to flood the region, there are calls for more police on the streets. Fortunately, here in Shep, that's exactly what's happening, with some fairly new officers heading to town. Emily Whittam has more.
Safety by numbers is the mentality down at the Shepparton Police Station this silly season, with a huge influx of new recruits over the last month and more to come.
Greater Shepparton was identified as an area in Victoria that needs more police, and we're very fortunate to be allocated an additional 8 or 9 positions over the last 4 or 5 months, and those police members are just starting to filter through. Police
Inspector Ian Bull says the newest additions to the Greater Shepparton Police Force will make patrolling the local streets a lot more efficient.
Really good feel around the place with the extra staff. It gives us capacity to do a lot more work, gives us the capacity to conduct more foot patrols, a lot more public order operations can be conducted, and you'll certainly be seeing more police out in the streets and out on the roads.
Upping the ante on community involvement is one of the most important parts of the boost in numbers.
Well, in recent months, we've had most of our members working operational shifts to respond to reports of crimes and public order offences. But with the additional police, it allow us to do more patrolling, it allow us to conduct more operations, and it allows us to interact even further with the community, which is really important.
Community interaction opens up the opportunity for a better relationship with the public, making it easier for the force to cut back on crime.
Well, it's really important because the police can't do things on their own. We can only do so much, so we certainly need the support of the community.
So how can you help reduce crime?
We'll be calling on the public to make sure that they report anything suspicious that they might see, and with the additional police members we'll have the opportunity to have more police on the road to respond to those sorts of reports.
This busy summer season is an important time to boost police numbers.
It's absolutely important for us to get additional staff here in Greater Shepparton during the Christmas New Year period. Very busy time coming up, and certainly with the local traders there'll be lots of people out shopping, and we'll have a visible police presence on our streets, and I think the public will notice that very quickly.
You're watching the Valley's own Weeknights from Cafe on the Lake in Shepparton, and these stories are still to come.
Up next, the Shep Council prepares its wish list for future government funding.
Every family with a farm, family or not, is connected to the land here.
And we get the hot travel tips from Lynn McNaught with this week's top travel destination.
This week, we're heading to Singapore.
This is Weeknights, back in just a moment.
I woke up with a strange tattoo. Not sure how I got it, not $1 in my pocket. And it
Ask not what you can do for your government, but what your government can do for you. Wednesday marked the launch of the City of Greater Shepparton's Ask of Government publication, which highlights areas where the council would most like to see state and federal funding go.
It's a book that I suppose skites about what we've got on offer in Greater Shepparton. It tells everything we've got from education to employment to our overseas arrivals and our industries and irrigation.
Well, we've just launched this magnificent booklet about the City of Greater Shepparton, and it of course is a glorious thing. It's about the multiculturalism, the great industry, the natural resources and beauty. But of course it's all under threat if we lose more water.
The launch comes at a poignant time as the fate of the Murray-Darling Basin is drafted, and after a tumultuous year. Federal MP Sharman Stone says our region thrives on water.
We made our water secure. That led to the great Goulburn and Murray Valley development, the factories, the food factories, the transport sector, all of the commerce. Every family, with a farm, family or not, is connected to the land here.
Other obstacles that get in the way of achieving the ideal region consist of issues like the rail service and the Goulburn Valley Highway.
What we're wanting the government to do is recognise the fact that we've got a few challenges in front of us. And one of the challenges, increased rail services. Another challenge is to get the bypass completed. And another challenge is obviously to get some redevelopment in the central business district.
Wednesday's launch was attended by our faithful members of Parliament, both state and federal, and now it's up to them to push our need for financial attention where health, education and transport are concerned.
We're here to let everybody in Victoria know exactly where we are. We've got all the right politicians here who are going to take the message back to their people back in Canberra and also in Melbourne into Spring Street, and they're going to be our advocates, they're going to be our salespeople for the Greater Shepparton area.
Time for another top travel destination, and Lynn's back this week.
Hi, it's Lynn McNaught from Lynn McNaught Travel in Mooroopna with this week's top travel spot. This week we're heading to Singapore. Singapore is in Southeast Asia and it's approximately 7.5 hours flying time from Melbourne. It's one of the cleanest cities in all of Asia. So if you're going to Asia for the first time, it's a great city to start with. It doesn't give you that big culture shock too much. It's one of the best cities for shopping. It has some fabulous attractions. Singapore Zoo is one of its best ones with over 3,600 mammals, birds and reptiles. It has great markets. It's fantastic beaches on Sentosa Island And of course it's very famous for raffles. And if you do go there, you must have a Singapore sling. Food-wise, of course, it's a great city of great mixture of food. Indian, Chinese, Malay, Cantonese, you can pretty much get whatever food you like. All in all, it's a great city to visit. Last week I was lucky enough to travel to Singapore for a conference, and we stayed at a new hotel called the Marina Bay Sands. This hotel took 5 years and 8 billion Singapore dollars to build. So if you're ever in Singapore, it's well worth a visit. For more information about Singapore, please call in and see us at Lynn McNaught Travel in Mooroopna. And tune in next Monday night for another top travel destination.
It's time to get those Christmas gifts sorted, and the Telstra shop has all of your communication needs under one roof. Here's Scott Kelly.
Hi, I'm Scott Kelly and welcome to your local Telstra stores in Shepparton and Echuca. Local people, local knowledge and great customer service, and your one-stop shop for everything you need in telecommunications. This Christmas, save $15 a month on the Samsung Galaxy S2, now $0 up front on a $59 Freedom Connect plan over 24 months. You get unlimited text, plus $550 of calls and MMS, plus 1.5 gig of data, all to standard Australian numbers, excludes use overseas. See in store for full terms and conditions. This mobile is super fast with a 1.2 GHz dual core processor which allows you to listen to music, run apps and view pictures all at the same time. It is powered by Android, so you can personalise multiple screens with app shortcuts and widgets to look and behave just the way you want. It is an amazing handset that you can see and try before you buy in our stores. Come and see your local Telstra stores at 100 High Street Shepparton, Shepparton Marketplace or 169 Hare Street, Echuca.
Still lots more to come here on Weeknights, including another local news hit later on, and this.
Hayley Purbrick is tonight's local you know. She's chatting with Greg Evans on the other side of this break.
And she is so passionate about wine, life and love. Hayley, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And Peter Cardamone has all of your sport on this Monday night.
We couldn't get a result in 3 games, but guess what? We got a result. Kyala defeated Katandra.
The Valley Zone Weeknights is local people, local issues.
It's time to catch up with Greg Evans from 95.3 SRFM, and he's catching up with this week's local you know. It's Hayley Purbrick.
Well, I am truly delighted this week to introduce to you Hayley Purbrick because she comes from a long line of wine growers, grape growers, the famous Tabilk winery. Her father, Alistair, is the CEO of Tabilk. Her grandpa is also the chairman of Tabilk, and now she is involved heavily in the business and running it as well. And she is so passionate about wine, life and love. Hayley, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
I said wine, life and love, but I meant wine and life are two of your biggest passions. Why do you love life so much?
That's a really good question. I don't know, I just like everything about life. I like the challenge of life.
I mean, on some notes that we made before the show, interests, love everything about life, having great conversations with people, travelling the world, learning about different cultures, reading interesting books, playing with my dog, tennis, water skiing, snow swimming. I love Nagambi. I just love life.
I do.
All right,
That's me in a nutshell.
What do you like about Nagambi?
I love the potential of Nagambi. I grew up there until I was 12 or 13 and then went to boarding school for year 7 through to 12. But I just love the water in Nagambi and it's quiet, there's not a lot of traffic. I know a lot of people in the local community. I've recently been elected as the president of the local tourism group, so I'm just passionate about it. I want it to be a place I want to live forever.
Not only did you grow up in Nagambi, but as I mentioned earlier, you grew up in a vineyard.
Yes.
So were you squashing grapes at a young age?
I wish I was squashing grapes. I wish it was that small that I could squash grapes. I used to work out in the garden a lot. I love gardening. It's very relaxing for me. So I used to go out there and work a lot when I was a kid. We used to really just hide in the cellars and play around, and Dad gave us, I think it was $5 an hour or $7 a week, depending what we were doing, to go out there. And so it's interesting now because everybody that I'm working with at the winery I knew as a kid.
Yes.
So a lot of people that I actually manage are twice as old as me.
Yes. So this takes great people skills for you to be able to harness all of that. where do you see yourself then in 10 years from now? You would be running that instead of
10
your dad,
years.
I suppose, wouldn't you?
Well, if I'm still in the Gambie, I would definitely hope to be running it in 10 years because by that stage I'll be 37. So I'm hoping that in 5 years I'll be closer to that point than 10 years.
Now, I read somewhere where the Tabilk Winery had some of the first vines in Victoria. Is that true?
Yeah, we've got our oldest Shiraz is planted in 1860. So it's some of the oldest plantings of Shiraz in the whole of Australia.
So if I was coming around to have a little tipple with you tonight and you were supplying the red, what would you chuck out for me?
Look, I would love to put an 1860s on the table, except
there ain't
I might get in trouble. But I would, we're really well known for our Marsanne and the older Marsans. So we've currently got a 2005 Marsanne out at the moment and it is so tasty. It's beautiful food wine.
We will have a Marsanne one day, but for now, Hayley, thank you very much for being our local that you know, and I wish you continued success.
Thank you.
There she is. Go and visit Hayley's Tabilk Vineyard very soon, and we'll be back with another local you know same time next week.
Here's Peter Catamoni with Monday Weeknights Sport.
Weeknights Sports Report brought to you by Darryl Tweed Volkswagen and the all-new Tiguan from $32,990 drive away.
Well, a big weekend of local cricket in SCA, of course. There was 3 draws. We couldn't get a result in 3 games, but guess what? We got a result. Kyala defeated Katandra in what was, well, I thought it was an upset. And well done to the Kyala boys, their first win of 2011 and 12. Let's have a look at all the results from the weekend's round of matches. Katandra all out for 235 overnight. They lost to Kyala 240. Well done to Scotty Burton, 72. Chris Rendina was 62 and BJ Esquire 38. Jed Wright, best of the Katandra bowlers, 2 for 43 and Nichols 2 for 50. So Kyala have their first win for 2011 and 12. Now let's have a look at the game between Central Park St Brennan's and Numurkah, and this was a great game of cricket. Central Park St Brennan's, they were chasing 287 and they were in trouble at 8 for 213 and this game ended in a draw. Sammy Ahmed 45, Tracy 38 and Tyler Larkin 31. But Mark Brown, he was a star for Numurkah, 128. Glenn got 45 and Silver 39. And Central Park, as I mentioned, 8 for 213. The best of the bowlers for Numurkah, Silver 4 for 52 and Timmy Arnell still having a great season, 3 for 55. A great performance from the young man from the Numurkah Blues. In game number 3, it was Karamomus taking on Tatura, and this game ended up in a draw. Karamomus 3 for 297 and 166 not out from Paul Travascus, who, by the way, should be representing Shepparton cricket. Well, they had a draw with Tatura, 7 for 251. Peter Watt, 121. Well done to the veteran. Daniel Coombs, 37. Chris Keedy was the best of the Karamomus bowlers. They had Tatura 7 for 251 and Keeds 3 for 60, if you don't mind, from the 5-time Lightfoot medalist. And in the final game, this ended up in a draw as well. And a very good performance from Shep United. They nearly got the points against Old Students. 9 for 203. They were chasing 220 with Chris Earle and Jeff Wren, overnight batsmen. They ended up getting Old Students to 220. United 9 for 203. But Matt Cullen, what about the performance from the veterans? 65 in the weekend. Chris Gray, he made 45 and Matty Barclay 30. They put on 64 for the opening partnership and Students are in trouble. Thanks to Paul Newman, he took 4 for 44. But Old Students and Shep United, they drew on the weekend. Let's take a look at the ladder after round 6 of SCA cricket. Old Students still on top on 24, followed by Central Park St Brennan's 21, Karamomus on 21 and Shep United on 18. That's the top 4. Then Tatura on 18, who are going nicely too. They take on Katandra this week. Tatura, they're on 18, as I mentioned. Marupna on 15. Numurkah on 12 points. Kyala on 6 and Katandra. And we're going to catch up with Jed Wright tomorrow night on Weeknights. They are on the bottom of the SCA ladder on 3 points. So there you have it. That's a big wrap-up of the weekend's cricket. Looking forward to tomorrow night. We talk to Jed Wright. And we might even catch up with him during the week with 60 Seconds with Carters. And don't forget, on Thursday night, we're going to catch up with the great man from the Marupna Bowls Club, and that's Mark Ryan. We're going to be talking bowls, and then Friday night it's round 7 of SCA cricket. Big week of sport. We've got it covered right here on Weeknights.
News and local weather are next. We'll see you for more Weeknights on the other side of this break. It's a local news time. Back to you, Julie.
Joel, Operation Unite was in full swing in Shepparton across the weekend, with more than a dozen people arrested. 1,500 people were taken into police custody around Australia, 200 of those in Victoria. In the GV, there were 13 people arrested for drunkenness and 2 nabbed for drink driving. There are fears of a superbug outbreak in Victorian hospitals. Speaking to the Herald Sun, angry nurses say if the state government slashes nurse-to-patient ratios, there is the chance the VRE and Golden staff will explode. The state's nurses, including those in Shepparton and the GV, are continuing to rally for better pay and conditions. And a man has been charged after a house fire in Cobham last week. The home in Blackwood Crescent was allegedly set alight on Wednesday. The man's been charged with theft and also criminal damage by fire. He'll front court next month. That's it from the news desk for tonight. Let's take a look at those local weather details. Here's tonight's McDonald's Weather Whiz Kid.
Hi, my name is Rebecca. I'm at Benalla. I'm in Year 4 at Benalla West Primary School. I'm today's Weather Whiz Kid. Here's the weather.
The satellite shows a high pressure system south of South Australia is moving slowly east and will be near the west coast of Tassie by tonight. Closer to home now, the sun has continued to shine throughout regional parts. Mostly sunny for 25 in Albury today, 26 atop in Shepparton under sunny skies, 24 for Bendigo and slightly cooler for 23 in Melbourne. In other parts, the fine weather continued. Sunshine for tops of 25 in Deniliquin, Benalla and Seymour, a balmy 26 for Echuca today. The mercury should continue to rise throughout the state tomorrow. Mostly sunny for a top of 26 degrees in Albury, similar in Melbourne for 25. We're heading towards a warm 28 degrees in Shep tomorrow, sunshine and 27 in Bendigo. Much the same elsewhere, a bit of cloud in Denny and Benalla for 27, fine and a top of 26 in Seymour. Echuca is the winner tomorrow though, sunshine for 28 degrees. The early risers can expect the sun to be up just before 6 in the morning for 5:54 a.m, setting around 8:24 tomorrow night. Looking ahead quickly, and the fine weather is continuing as the mercury climbs. Mostly sunny conditions for tops of 29 in Shep Wednesday and Thursday. A similar outlook in Benalla. Those in Echuca can expect sunshine tomorrow, 29 your high Wednesday and 30 on the way Thursday. And for a change, Melbourne is enjoying the sunshine as well, 29 the top by Thursday.
That was the weather. I'd like to say hello to all my friends and family.
That's all from the Weeknights team from Cafe on the Lake in Shepparton on this Monday. The project is next on Southern Cross 10, so stay tuned for that. I'm Joel Crean, and we'll see you again tomorrow night.